Okay, I'd like to call the Capital Improvement Committee meeting to order January 13th, 2021 at 2:08 PM. In attendance is Ben Tassino, Ken Vincent, John Furno, Ellie Chesbro, Adam Furno, Ben Oja,
Brandon.
and Brandon, whatever. You guys can switch names back
Yeah,
and forth. So Brandon did a name change.
Yeah.
Matt Wojcik and Jean Lovett. Shirley is remote. She's on speakerphone at the moment. First, so our agenda, we have to review our requests from departments. We have Adam Furno here from Building, and we have John from Highway. And Kent, are you going to be doing anything with the fire this week?
I thought we were just doing them.
Okay, no, that's fine, just asking. So I'm gonna have Adam start, that way if he needs to get back to what he's doing,
Sure. So can I sit here, or is this good?
you can sit wherever you would like.
That's perfect, right here is fine with me. I will start with the building, I have highway too, I'm going to present that, but I'll
Yep.
start with the building maintenance first.
1 minute, Adam, I just wanna make sure Shirley, can you hear Adam?
I'm not sure what he's starting with.
Well, no, but can you hear him speaking?
Try again?
Can you hear me, Shirley?
Yes.
Okay, so Adam's gonna start, and he's gonna go through his presentation. So he's in the introduction at this moment.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just start, I'm going to go through and discuss just what we have for FY '22, and then you'll see I have everything listed for '23, '24, '25, '26, but some of the info that I've given you is for FY '22. So the first one we have on the agenda, which we have, second round, was the generator. We did receive $135,000 that was approved in FY '20. We did apply for a grant, that was going to be the second source of funding for the project. Unfortunately, we did not get the grant. We had an electrical engineer come in at no cost and give us a walkthrough to discuss some of our issues that are downstairs in the basement, which is one of the pictures that you'll see, which is on the second page, is those are the old switches that run the town hall right now. That's the electrical switches and the fuses that are placed into those switches. That's the packet I gave you. Again, we run off very little of our stuff here at the Municipal Center runs off of the police generator. And besides that, we have nothing up here. That generator was in 1992. So we're looking for $185,000 to add to our 135. And we're going to start the project with an electrical engineer very shortly. We're hoping to hire one in the meantime and get the project underway with the funds that we do have.
Just a comment or a question, Adam. The expanding the use of the generator for the whole building is a result of the building being designated as the emergency command center, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure everybody understood that part of it.
So Mike, could you have Adam speak into a mic like you are? Because
I can go.
it's in
Okay,
and out.
all right, well, I'll bring Adam up to the table. Okay.
Go sit next to Mike. Oh, that way
Now you're making him sit next to me.
I know.
You can move, Mike.
No, I'll sit close to you. Yeah, she's telling you to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Shirley, is this better?
Sorry. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And number two that I have on there.
Wait,
I'm
number
sorry.
one, or can we ask
Yeah,
questions?
absolutely, yeah, please.
Okay.
Please do.
I just added that up and,
Ellie, just,
oh, Ellie,
yep, yeah, just, eventually, we're gonna have a minute taker, and I'd like to do it somewhat orderly.
okay. So 135 and 185 equals 320,000 total.
Correct.
Okay, and on the little sheet that Matt did last time, it came out to 210,420.
So I think, so what's happened is it was under my fault where the 135 wasn't counted. They didn't, we discussed this whole project, and the 135 was the funds that we didn't have. We were going to ask for 210 total originally before we had the other issues come in. So that's why that is actually outdated. This is the new number right now, the 320 from our electrical engineer who gave us a rough estimate. Again, until you hire someone, you're going to find more issues, unfortunately. So 320 is the fund that the number we should be going with.
But we already have 135.
We have 135 of the 320, correct.
Okay.
Number 2 is the municipal main roof here.
Shirley, did you have any questions on that generator at all?
So what do you think is going to cost for somebody to give us an estimate for that?
I don't know at the moment. Bill is working on that. That's what the phase where we are in. We started that process just to reach out and get feelers out to see what it's going to cost us. So I don't have a number at this point.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's your top priority.
Correct. We need to, unfortunately, like I said, we applied for the grant and we didn't get it. We were really hoping to get the grant. Unfortunately, we didn't.
yeah, during his presentation, Shirley, he had mentioned that they're looking to hire an electrical engineer to properly spec it out, so we'll get a more accurate number once that's designed.
Sure. And do you think there's any possibility of applying for another grant during this COVID because we need this for emergency operations?
Well, there's always a possibility, but as of the moment, there isn't anything out there, but things change day to day, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything on the generator? No? Sorry to
Nope,
interrupt you,
my
Adam. No?
Number 2 is the municipal center main roof. Again, this roof was installed in 1995. They put this roof over the old tar and gravel roof to save money. Of course, at that point, the lifespan was 15 years. We're at 25, and we've had many leaks, some causing flood damage upstairs, which we had an insurance claim. And just some of the pictures that you see in your packet is just little square patches everywhere has been a leak. And then you'll see lift spots. And I did give you a summary of where I'm at right now, just in patching in the last few years. It was $7,230, which that's actually wrong because I've had it patched twice since I put this presentation together. We unfortunately find leaks, then it causes damage upstairs, and that number doesn't reflect any ceiling tiles or anything else that we've had to clean up and replace. So you'll see the pictures show the squares all over the roof and the long seams that have been patched. And then one of the pictures does show the big lift spot. We have lift spots underneath, which means there's water getting underneath and causing like the gas, and so it lifts the roof up. So the insulation's all deteriorated underneath. And this has been, again, this has been on capital for many years. Before me, I know Ricky had it on here, which I started in September of 13 doing this. So
2014?
yeah, 13, I believe. But so that's my second priority at a cost of $345,000. That's going to be to, again, and I always put these little asterisks because unfortunately it's till you hire someone, you don't know what you're going to find. So you don't know. So I'm hoping it's going to be simple. It's going to be like the gym roof that had a couple little things, but we're going to have some repointing that included in that, and hopefully it'll go smooth if we get the funding.
Okay.
Any questions?
Can we move that
No,
antenna when we
thank
do
you
the
for those
roof?
pictures. It's really good.
Yeah, well, I figured no one's really should be climbing up on the roof but me, so it's probably a good idea to get some pictures to show you.
Excellent.
Before you move on to the next thing, I have a question.
Yep.
Everybody else is all set? Are we going to look to doing your first picture that you have has the AC unit?
I copied it a second time for the other one, further
So
down for the
so
units.
just to mention that it may be possible that these are done simultaneously?
Correct. If possible, these are gas units that are on the roof. It is further down in my scope for this year.
Yep.
But those units are propane from the rear of the building. They were put on by the school department when they occupied the second floor. I have 2 shut off right now because they're rotted out and they can't replace the parts for them. The other 2 are running, keeping heat going at a minimum upstairs, and I have the doors open. If you haven't noticed, the doors are open from this floor to the second floor, so that way I can keep heat up there so nothing freezes. So but that'll be, you'll see that coming up too. My project number 3 was a pickup truck for the maintenance department. It's how it started out, was just for myself. Matt came up with a great idea, and he asked if we could get one truck that would serve the purpose to help out a few different departments. So it would replace my truck, the 2005 Dodge maintenance truck, that was purchased in 2017 for $5,500. And then we will replace that truck with a dual-use truck. Basically, for the highway, it'll plow. It'll also work for the fire department as needed, pulling the CERT trailer or moving stuff for them, picking up hose, whatever we need to do, since we can have it. We can also tow our trailers with it. And then also still with the highway department, we'll use, on many different jobs, we'll have that truck on besides just plowing. And I'll use it for maintenance. So that's the increase to 65,000. That is only one quote. That was a quick thing we came up with. So the price could be lower than this. We just haven't gone out to any other dealers or anything yet. We just did that one just to get an idea of where it would be. So that's why it's at that price right now. I think that the quote was for 64,647.
Yep.
So we put in for 65,000 at this time.
Adam, are you looking at two or three?
So this one was a 350 with the plow.
Okay.
But, that's what it was spec'd out at this point. Doesn't mean we have to have a 350. We can go to instead of a dually, to a single wheel, there's plenty of options. We really didn't, we kind of ran into this quick, like you said, I've always asked for just, 30,000 or whatever it was in the past to get a truck, to me. But if we want to do a dual use truck, which is great, if you're going to replace two for one, you're saving money in that aspect. That's fine with me. I'm a member of most of the departments here, so I don't mind helping out in any way I can. So.
Ellie Chesbro here. I'm curious of why such a humongous truck?
So, well, it's got to be a certain rated to plow, so it's got to be a bigger. It doesn't have to be dually, that's just what it comes with when you, like a utility body that they have. Utility body is actually something I really would like. That is something I like because I have all my stuff spread out everywhere. I don't have, I have a little corner office, if you notice. So to put my stuff in a truck would be great to have it, so I don't have to come here, go there to try to get stuff. That's the one thing. So, but you can have single, instead of dually with utility body. So, that price may come down. It may not be that. This is just, we went to the dealer quick, give me this, and that's what we got for a price. So, we're definitely open to options. It's not set in stone by any means, but it's close to that. That's what we figured. This would be the highest point, and we could always give back.
But
And
you don't want
that's
to
fine.
short yourself either.
Well, that's it,
Something
true.
that's going to be probably in the
But-
state forest from time to time, and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. I'm trying to find some, I'm trying to mesh 3 departments to one truck.
Would this be used on all the snowstorms?
Yes.
Okay.
We would have this
So-
plow.
Question for John. What do we pay now for a dually on a subcontractor?
$81 an hour.
So there's $81 an hour that we won't be paying a subcontractor that would stay in, which doesn't pay for the truck, but it helps offset some of the costs during these storms, so.
And I would say the more rugged you make it, the less breakdown you're going to have.
Well, you look at the truck that I drive that not because it's a big truck, it's because what I need. If I need to move a small piece of equipment with a trailer, the truck's gonna do it. It's the right tool for the right job. If you get another truck like Adam's using now, it's gonna be limited in its use.
For the operations, what department pays for all of this, and how much is that on a yearly basis? Like the $81 savings on your part, does his plowing come out of your department, or does it come out of?
I think it would still come out of building maintenance.
Well, he's already maintaining a pickup.
Because
For
yeah.
fuel and what have you.
Correct.
It might be a little bit more money because they're using it as a plow truck.
Yeah.
I don't see a big, huge offset. The fuel would come out of when we plow snow and we're plowing snow.
Yeah, correct.
If we're at a large fire event, Chief Benson would help out with fuel for that,
Yeah, right now, we don't have a pickup, so
Yeah.
that would help. This past, when we had that fire up over across from we had all that hose we had to bring back,
It
remember?
was in October, late October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a whole truck bed of hose that you had to pull out of the woods to move,
A lot of times it's one of my own vehicle, or Ben
Yeah.
used his vehicle, whatever.
We filled up the UTV and took that down Main Street full of hose too. So-
Is that the thought process of the utility body for the
Correct.
small hand tools, whatnot you need?
Yeah, a ladder rack for the ladders, because actually one thing I should have mentioned in here, the ladder rack that I like, is actually for ladders, because I climb the roofs here, some of the, and I kind of stick them out of the back of a pickup truck with a red flag on it, and, and it's really not the right way to do it, which, again, I get away with it, and that's great, but if something happens, I don't want to be.
Well, being the OSHA guy. that
Yeah,
will
exactly, it's really not.
Yeah, who is going to
It won't look good on the
arrest you
front of
I
anyway?
know, and I hope that's my goal. I don't want anyone. Brandon doesn't want to arrest me soon.
Any questions on that, Shirley?
No.
No. Anybody else have anything on the pickup truck?
Are these-
Gene Lovett?
I just want to remind you, when you're, this case back together, in case it gets by me, anytime you write a truck replacement, make sure you're pretty broad in your language, Adam.
Okay,
So if it's, whatever it is, that for 350 with plow and whatever else you're adding,
okay,
so that we are as broad as we can within the scope of the article.
okay.
Or you won't get the blinds for the windows.
You get your other. Wow.
Excuse me, Mike.
You're breaking up, Shirley. What?
Would you repeat, please, the question that Jean had?
Well, no, Gene was giving Adam instruction to make sure that he includes all items associated with this truck, plows, ladder racks, and so forth. That way he can actually get it if it's voted in.
Understand. Go, Jean. Thank you.
So Adam,
Sorry.
the pictures here, you want to talk about those pictures of your truck?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you can if you, yeah, that's absolutely it, sure. So, I mean, just a few pictures I did throw into the truck, just to show, I mean, it served me well, I won't deny it. It's a 2000, like I said, 5 that we bought for $5,500. And Mike asked me to get a truck that'll last you 5 years, and we're on 5 years, and it's still running at this moment, which is great. You see the scaling of underneath the frame and all that, in the side of the body, which you can put your hand through if you'd like. So, I mean, it's definitely time, that's all. But like I said, it served me well, and I was very much appreciative of what they bought me back then. And, like I said, it's still running at this moment, but I can't tell you for how long and how, it's been a good truck for what we've used it for.
Have you had to put a transmission or anything like that in it yet?
No, not yet. And that Dodge's. I
don't know if you get the
just said
bolts out.
that, and I have to drive back to the garage with it, no.
So that's
But,
the point. It's-
yeah, no,
With the mileage that's on it, it's due.
it is. So,
It served its job, but
Yep.
its job is ended.
So my number 4 is the units on the roof. And I just want to get back to that. Again, I just took another picture. That picture there just shows 3 out of the 4 units that were on the roof. Those are the units we were discussing. School put them in 1997, or 96 it was installed. There were 97 units. When they moved in, we have 2 shut down because they're not working, because they're rotted out. 2 more are working, but no one's up there at the moment, so it's able to withstand, keep up, I should say, with the doors open up from here, so that way the heat goes upstairs at this point. So there'd be something, we have discussed in the past with the Green Communities grant and trying to see if we can get some. The problem with that was they're all based on numbers that what your savings is going to be, and because we have 2 off, there is no savings. If we had all 4 running and they could show the year-round numbers, then it would be different. So we're not able to show any savings because, the 2 of them are off. So to them, you're already saving money. That's not how we look at it. And you can replace these probably now, they're so efficient that you can replace them with 2 smaller versions instead of 4. You can replace 2 and spend less than $110,000. But you'd have to get the design and figure out how the duct, go the ductwork and how everything's going to tie back together.
So the technology's different,
Completely different.
and it'd probably
Yeah.
be cheaper to buy that than repair the one.
Correct. And there was talk too also, if these units go back to electric, that propane line can be used for the generator. I mean, there's possibilities that we have open now that opens because we have a tank and we have the line, that we can tie it to a generator back in that area that will power this building. So, I mean, it's all got to fall into place certain ways, but there's definitely possibilities for it.
And they cost $25,000 each, so it could just cost $50,000.
It could, exactly. I just don't know. And until we get.
Yeah,
the
these are a guesstimate at
Exactly.
this point, and they just need to be properly spec'd out
Right. Yep.
and designed. correct, Adam?
Absolutely correct.
Are those the ones that we had on the roof that leaked propane?
So one of them, yes, we had one, that was when this all started, when Ricky was still here, was one of the units let go and started leaking propane inside. And then they had the whole issue, that was when Ricky was still here, and he explained it all to me. I asked him what happened, and it rotted out, and so they shut that one off. And then as I took over, the second one let go, I smelled it up on the
That was
roof.
a seal, correct?
Yeah, it was a seal on that, and it was rotted out. And so when I took over, the second one happened, we shut the gas valves off to those, they're both off, and then we have the two that are left right now. Again, like I said, they were used very highly when the school was here. They were running nonstop. They cut off all the old steam pipes from this floor, and they went with their own, units on the roof. And no one's up there at the moment, so that's, like I said, we can get away with it right now, but if we do ever plan on expanding anything, that's something we should really discuss. If not, do it while the roof project's going on, because you're already gonna strip everything off the roof. You might save money because you're gonna have a crane in here and do everything, stuff like that.
It would make more sense to put those in and seal the roof around it, right?
Correct. If you can't, yeah, any penetration is another leak in the future, unfortunately.
Right.
Any questions, Sal?
Anybody have any questions for Adam? No? Well,
Mike,
yeah,
Shirley, I'm looking at this and okay, so it looks like he's got the roof for 2022 and the generator and the AC and heat, and it looks like those, from what I'm hearing, is all tying in together. So maybe we need to get a good estimate and see what we come up with for that whole combination.
and I agree with that. I would, and if anybody disagrees with what I'm about to say, feel free to say so. But I would think that we would go through the process to see how it ranks, and if we're going to be doing them in the near future, then we expend the money to get them properly designed, instead of spending money to find out that we're not going to use that estimate for 5 years, and then we're back to square one again.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh, I
fire
agree.
alarm system.
Yeah, fire alarm system's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So the ultimate goal is to try to get this building under control, so we can utilize the second floor, which will ultimately save us money in the long term,
Yeah.
but we have to get there. Anybody else have anything for Adam?
Okay, and my final one for this year is the demolition of the brown house at 19 Main Street. That house is just sitting there vacant. We've had it, before we owned it, it was broken into, all the copper pipe was taken out of it. We've had the door kicked in many times, it's been boarded up. We've got no trespass signs on it, the police have been there a bunch of times. And it'd be nice to get that. It does have asbestos siding on it, so that's why if you see, I have the report from, first of all, it was Patriot Metal, who I asked for a quote to tear the building down, and then Socia's Oil to remove the oil tank and the boiler components that we have to, and Ransford Pest to do a pest abatement or a pest control for a building to be torn down, then the environmental report, which I've given you, which basically, like I said, I know they found asbestos, lead, the outside shingles are all asbestos that have to be dealt with. So the total request was for $50,000 just for that building, and that would seal up that building. And then we'd have to, we'd remove the building, and then we can utilize that space in the future for something else, with, depending on the VFW or how that direction, they want to go with that direction, but that is a very useful piece of property with the VFW in 19 Main Street.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, Shirley? Do you have a
How
question?
much land is with that property?
I don't know, Shirley.
It's
off the top of my
combined
head.
with the soccer fields and the old VFW at this point, correct?
I don't know.
No?
That's the individual house of the community service.
Oh, okay. Matt's going to look it up for you.
thank you. And there's no projection as to what it's going to be used for? Because it's right next to the cemetery, too.
Correct. I haven't heard anything, Shirley. I just know, I mean, there's, you know, we've
It
had...
needs to go.
Yeah, exactly. That building especially, I mean, the VFW does have, is in contention a little bit more, but that brown house, in my opinion, there is no contention with. I mean, when the last owners were in there, when we did take it over, if you walk a couple steps into the kitchen, you feel the floor sponge and everything like that.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's why it's boarded up, try to keep everyone out until it does
Yeah.
get taken down.
What do you mean when you
Yep.
say VFW is not in contention, or?
No, it is. Some people want to keep it, some don't. That's why I haven't brought VFW up in here because I'm not sure what to do with it, I guess. There is no direction at this point what with that building. Some want to save it, some don't. You know, I don't know which way to go with that one. Everyone is in agreement with the Brown House
Yeah.
that this has to go, so.
So the VFW, is it been transferred officially to the town, or is it one of those things like the old elementary school where
I don't,
it's not been transferred to the town by the school?
I don't know with that building.
Yeah, just for keeping the meeting under control, I'd rather stick to whatever we have on our plate for the current projects.
Okay,
Well, Brandon's on a time restraint, and we still have to go through the highway department as well, so
Okay.
I'd rather stick to whatever is being presented.
But it is the town's property.
Correct. We bought that for $70,000 when Mike was here.
Right.
The only thing I would suggest, Adam, is you may want to look and get an updated
Updated
price from
quote, yeah.
Patriot, because this is 2018, and
Correct.
the costs may have gone up, and
Yep.
you're at 48.3, and you're asking for 50, so you might be a little close on your number. You might want to
Yep.
fatten that up a
The
little bit.
lot's half an acre, Mr. Chairman.
And Mike...
The lots are half an acre, Shirley.
Half an acre, okay. And also, Socias was, I think, what,
$600.
Something.
Yep. So Adam's
Yeah,
going to
and that-
revisit his prices.
Correct.
and that needs to be readjusted too, because that was earlier.
Correct.
Those don't change too much, because, as far as removing oil tanks, because it's you're taking out scrap metal and pumping out whatever material is in
No, I
there.
hear you.
My concern is
I
on,
had-
wait, 1 minute, Shirley.
Yeah.
1 minute, Shirley.
Yeah.
My concern is on the taking down the building. When you have a quote 3 years old with asbestos siding and things like that, then
Right.
that, you seriously need to look at that. I'm not saying not to talk to Socias and get an updated quote, but that'll be a
Yeah.
minimal upcharge where we could potentially have a significant upcharge on the environmental issues.
I hear you, Mike. Thank you.
So that's all I have for FY '22. I know, like I said, I can jump into highway if you want to get right into that. It's your choice. I'd like to do it.
All right, if everybody's all set on the little house?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So again, any questions, like I said, always open. Please email me, call me, anything I can walk through with you.
Yep.
For highway
you,
department,
Adam.
sorry.
Yep, he's going to move into the highway department. He's doing a dual presentation because he's on most of the departments in town.
So
Good job.
highway department capital, our first priority is a new highway garage. So we're looking to replace the 1931 highway garage. The garage currently has no exhaust ventilation, no wash bay, minimal storage, is undersized for our needs. We're looking, hopefully a new garage will come with a new salt shed, sand shed, a fuel depot. We'd like an overhead crane inside the building to move our sanders around instead of the way we do it now, and a generator, which we do have a generator at the moment. That one we got from the school when they were going to get rid of it. So we kind of took it and reused it, repurposed it for our building. MS4 stormwater regulations require us to have a wash bay, and we're not allowed to wash vehicles outside. Unfortunately, we still do. We want to get the salt off as much as possible, that's our goal. So, we try depending on the weather, as soon as it's warm enough to wash so it doesn't freeze, as we wash it, we'll wash the trucks. And we did speak, John and I have spoken to a couple different towns that have new garages, and some of them have given us some good hints, like solar panels on the roof. They're all metal prefab for the most part, buildings, some are Morton buildings, some are other types of buildings, but they're all metal prefab, and they said solar panels have actually helped them recoup some of the cost by having no electric bill, and the town gets the money back in that aspect. So it's something to think about. Some have carports outside. I see some of the police stations like Sutton have the carports with solar panels on them. So, let's see. So I threw a bunch of pictures in of our garage. I know, and like I said, we are very willing to meet with you, walk through our building at any time. Like I said, we'll meet you and go through it.
As long as it's during the day, it doesn't look like there's any room to get in there any other time.
So the picture where you see the side of number 3 truck, I just had a note. I made a couple notes on it. The headboard of the sander, if you see there's a black mark on it like that, and you see how it's got a little bend to it, the only way we can get that truck down front is we had to cut the headboard, and we had to bend the thing down and re-weld it, so that way we could just get it inside. That's probably your second or third picture, and let me see. One,
Is that this one?
2, yeah, that's that one. So you'll see there's a black mark
It'd be your
on it.
third picture.
Third picture. That we had to cut the headboard off the sander, lay it flat almost all the way down, and re-weld it back on in order to get the truck inside the garage. And unfortunately, the new trucks that come out, they're rated a lot higher, they're bigger. So you basically, in order for the weight that we put on the truck to be sufficient, we need the size truck that we have. And those trucks only fit out back, and at this point, there's no more room down anywhere, but we can't put the big trucks down front. We've cut every truck we could down, the headboards down, we've done everything we can to get the small trucks in the front and the big trucks out back. So again, there's just pictures all the way through of what we kind of go through on a daily basis. Some of the plow frames have to touch the wall, which basically, so we can't get to our tools, we have to move equipment out to work on anything. The guys can't do truck checks on a daily basis like they're supposed to be doing, because you can't get around your truck to open the hood. It's just what we've been going through.
Adam, there's a picture with 2 sander bodies and a orange pole in between.
Yeah, that's holding the roof up. Yeah. They had a couple of poles in there that had kind of, every time the building would sag, they'd throw another metal pole up, and it seemed to work, I guess, so that's why they did it. You have one picture that has the loader bucket underneath the back of it.
Structural engineer's name was?
I'm not saying.
Yeah, that's it. The loader
yeah.
bucket has to tuck underneath that sander. If it doesn't tuck underneath, in that, you'll see the hook on the sander has to touch the sander, the hook from the bucket. We can't shut the door if we don't have that. It has to touch. That's how tight we are in our building. If we need to get a welding screen out, we have to take out 3 trucks to get the welding screen so we can use it to do any work. It's just, it's all the stuff that we've been going through.
It looks like you have to take out a truck to get a wrench.
You do. All our toolboxes are blocked in by vehicles. Our backhoe, which is a 2000, John, how old? 14? A 2014 sits outside. And you can see the paint's coming off of it already. It's wearing so much faster than it should. Our grader, the same way. We have our hot boxes down the old fire station, our chippers at the mobile pipeline with the water sewer. We're trying to keep stuff inside as much as possible. Our break room is the boiler room. So, it's just, and if I do have a picture of our bathroom in there. We don't have a little shower, but, that's just what it is. In our tool crib, so that's basically our building, and please, at any time, we would love for anyone to want to come walk through it with us. We'll show anyone around, we'll gladly meet you and go through it.
It seems, this is Ellie again, that it wasn't on the FY22 request before, on Matt's chart. It was on the FY23,
yeah.
and it looks like, is it a capital expense, or is it an override expense? debt exclusion expense?
That would be a question for Jean, I believe.
I would think it would be excluded.
Mike, I didn't hear what she said.
She she's talking about, Ellie asked, the building was on the spreadsheet that Matt had for fiscal year 2023. It's showing it on 2022. Her question was, is it a capital expense or a debt exclusion?
Thank you.
One,
So, before Jean answers, I'll tell you my answer.
okay.
The idea of putting the building in '23 was because we had debt rolling off that year. If we did, I have to really sharpen my pencil on debt exclusion versus capital exclusion. But I will never recommend debt, just ever. It should be a capital exclusion, and however the mechanics of that go, but it would only be to raise enough money to fund the project. I don't know if we can spread that out over 1 year or not.
Excuse me, Mike?
One year thing.
Yes?
I didn't hear the answer.
Okay, Matt's going to come up to the table and
So I've started firing everybody associated with this Zoom setup. I'm going to keep firing people until I find people I can figure out how this works. The good news is because cable is recording this session, you are not violating Open Meetings Act. But we're darn close. I'll start all over again. The building needed to be replaced a decade ago. So now the only real question at the timing is when would be the most intelligent point to set the date to raise the funds. If there's debt rolling off, or there's a note that will be paid off in fiscal '23, that would be the more opportune time to go to town meeting and ask for the funds, because for the taxpayer receiving a bill, there might not be a change, or if there is a change, and we would explain it when the time comes, but it's too expensive to finance through free cash. It would drain all of the free cash that we would possibly amass, and we wouldn't do any other capital. So it's really not appropriate to think of this as something we could do with free cash. So we have to find the best time to do it. Like I said, I mean, if I could do all this stuff in 1 year, I would, but for operational purposes, policy purposes, but we just don't have that kind of money. That's the best answer that I can give. Now, I'm sure Gene will correct me on what would be the proper financing mechanism, whether it should be a debt exclusion, we'll take out a short-term note and try to pay it off over 5 years. I don't know if a capital exclusion could be spread out over more than 1 year or not. This is not something I've done before. I haven't done a capital exclusion, so I'm not sure how the mechanics of that. But, my thought is it would be we could handle it on a year-to-year basis if it were spread out over 5 years, but we didn't take an official note that we had to pay interest on. That's the, I don't know how you would do that. You could have anticipation notes. Yeah.
And that's really a policy question, is whether or
Yeah.
not you want to utilize the existing tax levy to pay for a capital project or have it above that rate. So I agree with Matt in the sense where it's not a free cash purchase. He's talking about borrowing, whether you're borrowing within the levy or a debt exclusion is a different thing for a longer period of time.
Did Shirley hear all of that?
Shirley, did you hear all that?
No.
Well, there's
Sorry.
Yep, no, that's okay. There's not much else I can do with this. If you can't log on to it, Matt's up at the table, and so.
I'll count on the minutes
Yeah.
for the information.
Yeah, it's being recorded anyway, so you're still going to be able to watch it.
Just a quick question back to the cable room. Can we boost the pickups? Can we get the microphone? Can you?
For the in-room?
For the in-room, so that anybody sitting in the audience should be able, it should be coming up here. That's what we paid all that money for, to have this upgraded.
Don't know if this will help.
Go ahead, say something, Gene, and see if Shirley can hear you.
Hi, Shirley.
Your mic's, so you're in the worst possible spot. I'm gonna call that the Pam Holmes dead zone. Because every time she comes, she sits over there and she can't do
Well, I
anything.
was social distancing.
You can, that.
Yeah, but you got the whole
there's a
room
microphone
now, Gene.
there, And there's a microphone there.
Shirley, can you hear me now?
I cannot, it's very spotty. Sorry.
Yep,
I'll count on the minutes.
okay.
Well, I have another question on, and Mike and Shirley could probably answer this best because you're on the construction committee stuff. But my understanding is that one has to have plans, and I know you don't have any costs here because you don't know them, but you have to have plans for a building before you actually build it. Because somebody has to, you have to have a building manager, not you, Adam, but somebody that's going to oversee the whole project. And so it's like a few years in the making. It's not going to happen next year, in my mind. But, you know, unless you start taking these little steps. The same thing with the police, you know, you keep on asking for a new station, you got to get the plans. You can't just say, oh, well, Oxford built one for such and such a cost. And that's something that doesn't sit well with the voters, you know, since
Well,
that's
she
what
directed that to me, and so as far as a highway garage versus a police station, you're talking apples and oranges. This is a pretty basic structure that they're looking for. So in order to get this designed within a year so it can be built the following year, that wouldn't be a huge undertaking for any architect.
It's a two-part thing then.
Excuse me?
It's a two-part request, one for the plan, one for the building.
Correct, but if it has any viability to it, then I would assume that the highway department would start that process to get a realistic quote on doing the design and the approximate cost of doing the structure. And then move forward with that. But if out of the gate, everybody's like, no, 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 then there's no sense in putting it forward. Yeah,
I honestly, and I don't know how you get a quote for a building, and, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know, normally you hire an engineer and they give you an idea of where you go. I don't even know where our building will be located. Is it going to be located in the same spot? Are we going to move it? You know, I don't have a lot of info on this. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where you have to hire someone in order to get to a certain point, I think, you know. Like I said, I've worked on trying to get an idea of what a building would cost, you know, the exterior shell, but then you're like, okay, I still need to do interior, I need to know how many bays, I need to know how big it's gonna be, you know, what the heating system's gonna be. I mean, it's just, there's so much to it. So I really don't know how I would go about getting just a quote for a building.
Well, I think that's what Ellie's saying.
Yeah.
Is that you need the design first, and then to get the price to build the building later. So the design would probably be the intake from the departments and say, these are the needs that we have.
Would that start with a study, Matt?
yeah.
It does, but yes,
That's just one more expense, you know.
just a recommendation, just a thought.
Yep.
We shouldn't even talk about doing a design unless you are on board for the end project.
Yep.
2.2 million, I mean, it is a steel prefab building, so getting costs for the kit is something we can do. That's knowable, and that's what the 2.2 million, I don't know if that reflected a heating system or not. I don't think it did.
I don't think just for the shit, yeah.
But that's going to put you in the range. Now, I don't know that the design would be very expensive on this. I mean, you're talking about a rectangle with the roof. So, you know, you would fold that into the total project cost. You would do the design would establish the bid documents, and the bid documents would be released all as one project. The
Right.
town meeting signs off on, you do it soup to nuts, but you can't go to bid until you have final plans,
If
construction
you,
plans.
if you wanted to do a building like that, a structural steel building, you would figure out what your needs are and scope it out that way. As far as the design would be done by the manufacturer of the building, because they have to stamp it for all their loading and everything else. You can't have an architect design that building, hand it to a steel building company and say, build this, because they won't do it. Because they have to put their name on it. They're going to take all that, they'll take the basic design of it, and then they're going to configure where all their supports and what size beams and all that other foolishness that goes along with it. So
it's design build.
for this, and getting back to my original statement of comparing this building to the police department is a very complex building because of their needs. This is a very basic building. They need shelter. There's some other things they need. They need the break room, and they need heat in the bathrooms and things like that, but it's still a very basic building. So once it's determined whether or not it's a viable project, then they can scope it out, and then they can solicit bids to get it defined as to what the cost is going to be.
Would this where we would be starting to get the consensus?
Yeah, I know the process seems messy, but this is what we have to do. I mean, the list
I think
is
so.
broad, and this initial vetting
Yep.
is to determine what's going to be the best return for the town. And then we can dig in deeper as the merits of each individual project militate for them to go up or down the list. But yeah, I mean, this is what you got to do.
As a committee, we're relying on whoever the proponent is coming in with it to give us a realistic quote to go on it. If they came in and said, oh, $500,000, and then when we get done, it's 2.2 million, well, it's a waste of time, everybody's time. But if they feel they've done enough initial homework to come with that number, they didn't just pick 2.2 million out of the air, they have some sort of information on there to come up to that.
So would it
quote.
make sense for us to deal with the free cash items, get that set aside, and tackle this as a separate project?
Mr. Chairman?
Don't know.
He's looking at me, but
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, if you're not going to finance this through free cash, and you're not able to, it's kind of like a standalone project. You're either going to bring it to town meeting or not, and the question would be the timing and exactly how you're going to finance it. It's still, there's only so much that you can ask the community for, so it's appropriate to discuss it in this forum because it is capital investment, so. And it also has huge implications, both for your long-term, the health of the vehicle fleet, as well as the health of I'm sure having the break room and the boiler room is an absolute no-no for OSHA purposes. I mean, you can't even we're not even supposed to store uniforms or equipment.
Well, I'm
in same
surprised that
boiler.
Kent didn't flinch when he seen the cooktop. I was expecting some switching to go on over there, but that's okay.
It's a shelf. You're right.
If you need to go, Brandon, that's fine. Yeah,
I'll watch the rest of it.
yep.
That's one thought. I mean, we can deal with it however you want to. I look at the grader as basically, it's almost like it's a certificate of deposit that's got a negative interest rate on it. In other words, we don't really use the thing much, and it still has a lot of value because it's an expensive piece of equipment and doesn't depreciate that quickly. So we're losing the ability to use it for anything, for trade-off or for trade-in or sale or anything.
use.
Because you're not going to store it in the salt barn. I don't know, that maybe it had happened in the past,
Happened back in the.
but you're not going to store anything made out of metal in the salt barn. So we're stuck with this thing outside, and it's a shame.
John?
Yeah, so I got on my superintendent's group and asked for any info they could give me on a new garage. And I got a lot of response back. We've been invited to different towns that are fairly new, but COVID now, they're all kind of shy letting us come. Charlton has a new garage, Hopkinton has a new garage. But a lot of them told me it takes a year to get this thing pushed off. But you gotta get the funding and it takes, a year to get your plans in place and what have you. But this has been on since I took over in '05, on capital every year. And I put it as number one because I don't want it to be forgotten. I may be done and gone before it's all done, but, it needs to happen, it's needed to happen a long time ago.
Where would you put it, John?
I mean, I'd like to stay in the center of town, where we are now, roughly, within a mile of that radius. Because when the salt trucks leave, everyone starts spreading salt right away.
Yeah.
We're not backtracking from down on Davis Street to go to Wallen Lake Road to start salting, Somewhere near where we are would be optimal.
Yeah, it's a pretty central location there.
It's the center of town is up where we are, actually, geographically,
And we do own quite a bit of land around that we could potentially utilize. Yeah.
When you were talking to Chief Foley, where were you proposing, we were doing the public safety complex, we had 90,000 appropriated.
Right, and then we were hoping up kind of where the fire station is.
Right.
Yeah.
Where we are.
Push out the side from the fire station towards the highway.
Right. That was the plan 10 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe, Gene?
To add the,
It was.
to
I
add the
first
police
became
to it.
chief,
Yeah,
and we put the brakes on because people are gonna get laid off.
right, exactly.
Right, we took the 90,000,
Yes,
we moved it.
put it to
Yeah.
salaries. But it takes a year to get off the ground, so that's why we're here now.
Yeah.
I met with the selectmen, with Matt, and they were very, very much in favor of this project, to support it, so this is the starting process, that's why we're here.
Matt, you brought up the location of that. Down behind the VFW, we have the playing fields there. Is there any other location that we could have the playing fields, that they could utilize all that area down in there, or does that not make sense?
I think that would start a riot.
Apologize. That's not even the right one.
The,
Hello?
oh, gosh.
Yep. You still there? Okay. Everybody's radio's going off, so we didn't leave on you.
Silent.
All right. So are we talking about the location of the highway department and where?
We were just touching on it briefly. We're still talking about the building, but the discussion came up, just some very basic ideas on where it could potentially go. Why did you want to donate some land?
John wouldn't like to be up here. It's too out of the way, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, but Adam would feed the cows. So.
That's it.
Jesus.
I know how to do that. I've done that before.
No, I think somebody mentioned that years ago when the fire department first went up there, and the plan was at that time to have, the new highway garage and the police department all there centrally located. And of course, that hasn't happened, but there is land there. But I'm questioning, John, you don't feel that that's the right place, or what's your status?
What are you talking about, behind the VFW, having all those move up there?
No. Right where the highway department is
All right,
now,
okay.
or is-
It's too small.
Yeah,
too
the
small.
size of it would be challenging, and you also have that right-of-way road that comes down that would have to be redirected, and then you would have septic issues, because that's, when Ray did that gas station across the street, I think they're floating on like a little peat bog over there. So
Okay.
there'll be some challenges on that particular lot for too much.
It's in the aquifer, that, all that area is in the
Yeah.
aquifer.
Yeah,
So that's where you get in trouble with your cleaning off your
Exactly,
trucks.
correct.
Not that the ground's
No,
not frozen.
exactly. It's the aquifer, it's
Yeah.
part of the stormwater management that we.
Yep.
What's the prognosis on the pit? Once you've picked up all the wood and moved the dirt? to proper disposal.
Well, my thought, I'm sorry.
That's a fine location if we could
Yeah.
figure it out down in there. You know?
Yeah, they're discussing, just so you're in the loop, they're discussing the area behind the VFW down, the old pit that's down there, past the fields. And I only brought up the fields just in case they did decide to do that, just to give them more control of the space instead of having all this traffic down through there.
I think the field's in a rough location because the wetland is right across, and it is probably,
There's also some wetlands.
Yeah, that's what Matt was just saying that, yes.
Yeah,
getting back
it's
to,
a nice area, actually.
yeah, the little red house. Maybe it's just a pet peeve of mine, but we have a lot of people who use soccer fields. It's a
Yep.
popular sport, and the field is always occupied. And I just think it's an abomination. We are a first world country, so if the kid needs to go to the bathroom, or grandma, or anybody who's there, shipping them off to porta potties in the 90-degree heat is just ridiculous. The little red house, I think, is on a cesspool, so you would have to do some engineering to figure out whether it could handle a recreation facility type latrine for civilized people to use. But that entire area there, I really think the Axemen have put a lot of investment into the grass and the maintenance and the fencing, and we want to make sure, we want to enhance that facility, not take away from it. And that's the only downside, is that we would be running trucks. Now, chances are they'd be playing when you're not working.
Pretty much.
So that it might be, but there would still have to be some safety consideration there to enhance visibility and change the way people park more than anything else along that roadway. The only other candidate was the old Buckeye Pipeline. Now, that's all well and good, but we have to respect the pipeline and the easement there and the restrictions. Even though it's dead, it's turned off, in places it's even
It's
severed.
also on the aquifer, isn't it?
It's on the aquifer, everything's gonna be on the aquifer, it's not much. I could wax poetic about how municipal uses are exempt from zoning, and they are, but
Yep.
we try to respect it, we
Well,
ask
I'm just
everybody else
thinking
to.
of the wash basin and things like that.
There are some things about the Buckeye Pipeline, there are some existing cranes and some other things
Yep.
on those buildings there where you might build two smaller buildings instead of one bigger one.
Yep.
But if you could nestle it into the way the land is laying there, then you might be able to do something. I think that's the best alternative. I don't know what else we could possibly talk about at this point.
I don't know if any town will land other than that, in my opinion, at this time.
All righty. Any other questions on the building, Shirley?
No.
No.
Because I'm going to have to watch the tape.
Yep, no, that's fine.
The reception is terrible. So go ahead.
All right.
Okay, number 2 is a new international dump truck with plow and sander. This will replace one of our 2001 models. The reason I did have the building, and John and I had the building as number 1, is because, as I stated, the newer trucks do not fit in the garage, unless in the front garage, so only in the back garage. And right now, we'd have to park the oldest one outside if we got a new one. And we do want the truck, we do need the truck, but as like I said, the pictures past that will show you the dump body with it's all, the rust is sheeting off. You have, the corrosion, the rust, and you have the frame is opening up. It's just starting to, so we're trying to get that, replaced before we have any major issues with it, besides the rot. Basically, unfortunately, our trucks are out in the worst conditions. And the last picture I have on there just shows that we have a certified welder that we have come in, or we bring the vehicle to them. We try to patch the bodies. Once we get the rot hole right through it, we get it patched as soon as we can. We do try to put as much as we can into them to keep them for the 20-plus years that we've been asked to do that. And like I said, this truck is a 2001, and it's 20 years at the moment, and it's due to be replaced.
I have an OSHA question.
Absolutely.
Your first picture, is that the safety bars
Yeah.
for the body,
Yeah.
does that even operate?
No.
No.
Nope.
So what I just asked them, Shirley, is on the first picture, you'll see a horizontal bar, and then it looks like a little piece right over the tire. That's the body support, when you have the bodies lifted so they can work on them safely,
Yes.
and it's actually a requirement. Well, that one's rusted in place, they don't lift that anymore.
Nope. Exactly. Unfortunately, that's what it's at. And after that is the quote, the price quote for $90,074 for a new vehicle.
190.
I'm sorry, 190, I apologize. 190, my fault, 190. Yeah,
I wasn't worried, I knew Gene was gonna catch
Gene-
that one. Her ears started wiggling as soon as he said it.
any questions on the truck itself? I don't want to keep moving forward.
No. Any questions on the truck, Shirley?
No, I can see it. Yep.
Ellie?
Nope.
No?
Okay, priority number 3 for us is a sidewalk tractor with plow, snow blower, and sweeper. We put in for a $145,000 to replace our existing 2005 model. We also, since I have 2 quotes in here that we've started, we found another dealer for a different style machine that we would like to go look at. We just got this in this week, so it's in here for a Bobcat version. It's basically a mini loader is what they do now, and it's actually a lot cheaper than the multi-hog version that we looked at, which is a good thing, but we haven't looked at it yet either, and are not sure if it's going to do what we want it to do. But the price is definitely eye-opening, which is good for us. We'd like to go see, as long as we're happy with it, we may change this number. But at the moment, we're going to stick with the 145, and then we are going to look at the other version of it. But you have both quotes in the back of the multi-hog and also the Bobcat. The Bobcat quote was $48,585 at the moment. So, I mean, again, we don't know, we got to look at it, and we don't know what else that, how that's going to work, if it's going to have everything we're looking for, but it's a very nice little machine. It's what we needed for the sidewalks, and it has a multi-use with a broom and sweeper, so,
The front bucket.
and the front bucket, correct.
How do you move this thing around?
So it drives down the road. Yeah, it's registered.
Well, you can put it on the rear end of Adam's new truck.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was
Yeah.
asking that,
Yeah.
it just, it doesn't make sense. Because you're gonna drive it all the way from the highway barn all the way
Yeah.
down to Main Street.
I guess, yeah,
You could throw it on a trailer, drive down the street, use it, bring it back.
correct.
I was, all those questions that were answered were my questions, and I still, I don't understand the requirement of plowing or snow blowing or whatever, the sidewalks for downtown.
Well, you have,
I mean, growing up, I don't know if the laws have changed,
what,
but I grew up in a city, and we all had to, and I used to walk to school, too. And,
well, I know when my son was in school in this town, that if the sidewalks weren't done, school was canceled. If they were within walking, because you got all the kids within walking distance of the
Yeah,
school.
but they don't do that anymore, do they?
No, we don't have school anymore.
Right.
But I think, well, I would think that the fire department and the police department would get a little emotional if all these school kids were walking down Main Street during a snowstorm.
Well, nobody bothered me when I walked to
Well,
school.
we try to plow.
Yeah, but it was closer, you were at a VFW.
Well,
I was in the city, not in
one
the
child
town.
pedestrian accident might change your view.
Well, you could say that, but,
We try to plow them within 1 mile of the school.
Right.
There's bus stops for Valley Tech and the Douglas students at the Methodist Church downtown. We try to plow within 1 mile of the school, all Depot Street. We have a blind gentleman that uses the sidewalks year-round, so unless it's a long-duration storm, we'll get them done the minute it's done snowing. If not, it'll be the next morning. But the school's notified to let the students know in their one call that the sidewalks aren't going to be done till, because our guys got to get some rest, As far as a little piece between the highway and the Southeast Main Street, that stretch of sidewalks. We got a gentleman with a scooter that frequents that section, and there's other people walking on it, so that's why we.
And he got taken out on his little scooter. So,
Driving in the road.
Glad you said it.
Yeah, he was on the
The
road,
si- the
right?
sidewalk-
Because he doesn't go on the sidewalk.
No, he does, but he didn't, he was before the sidewalk. Unfortunately, there was no sidewalk where he was.
The problem is
and-
when you have people, when the sidewalks aren't done, then people walk on the road, and that's a problem.
And I'll continue to do them until the selectman or Mr. Wojcik tells me what.
Yeah, I think that we operate under the assumption that we are liable if we don't have all the proper sidewalk maintenance plans in place and then don't stick by them.
Who do you send those plans to?
So we haven't done one. We don't have a plan. So, I mean, we would send that to our insurer, I guess. I mean, whoever would,
well, if you don't do the sidewalks, where does it stop? Because I know during the snowstorms I go by, not only the sidewalks are done, all around the post office is done, this building's done, the library's done, for the safety of the residents of the town.
yeah, it's a public facility though. So if we don't maintain it and we don't have a plan for keeping it up to snuff, then I think we're exposing ourselves to risk. Surely Mr. Chairman, if you indulge
Yes.
me, surely I've sent you an invite for Avaya Spaces, which is what the Board of Selectmen use. And if you follow the links, you may be able to join us. It'll greatly enhance your ability to hear us, I think.
On our next meeting, one is send me whatever it is that I'm supposed to send to the town clerk
Yeah,
to,
we're, if we're in this room, we're gonna use this system from now on. We're never gonna mess with either Selectman Morse's accounts or anybody else. We will use the Douglas EOC functionality, and everybody will be able to get on.
well, that's good. I just need to know how to link up to it, that's all.
Yeah, well, because people keep messing with it, not you.
No, I was gonna say, not me. All I do is
It
I
keeps
put in
getting
the
knocked
request.
out
so,
of sync, and
Yeah,
it's gotta stop. I keep telling people to stop, now I'm gonna get angry. Enough already.
relax.
We gotta.
Get him a paper bag at him.
No, we got to comply with, it's not funny. Open meetings requires that things be properly noticed and discussed in a forum that's appropriate under the law. Otherwise, the actions you take are null and void. So that's why I get a little bit, people are just
Yep.
sticking their fingers into silly things and messing up significant issues.
Which nobody in this room has any control over.
No.
So I think we've all done
I'm
what we're
saying it for
supposed
the
to do to
record.
get to this point. So,
People who do listen.
what's that?
I'm saying it for people who need to hear it.
Oh, okay.
And no questions on that.
Any other questions on the sidewalk plow? Shirley?
No, I think they're wise in looking at both vehicles.
Okay.
And come back with a recommendation.
No, number 4.
Number 4, so we have on for a 52-inch zero-turn mower with a bagger system. So we inherited the ball fields, the municipal buildings many years ago. I mean, we've made it well-known. The ball field had a mower, we had a mower. At the point now where both mowers are starting to, have issues, and we'd like to get one mower that will do everything, and we can pick up leaves with it and all of it. So we're basically combining, again, we're gonna take two mowers, combine it into one, and keep it at the highway garage, instead of having them, unfortunately, some of them, if we leave it down at the ball field to do the ball field, it ends up getting broken, and then we go down there and the wheel's hanging off. So we're looking at trying to get one mower that will replace both of these. It does have a dump system on it, so that way we can pick up leaves, so we can send one guy. We don't have a lot of guys, we only have a couple, 6. So we can send one guy out to do it by himself instead of sending 2 guys, versus, having the 2 at the moment. And so, I'm just trying to make my notes. So the mower would be used to pick up leaves, ball fields, commons, town buildings, and mow all the grass. So it's $34,000 for that system.
What's the expected life out of that?
I don't, on this one, John,
Say
you,
15 years anyway.
15 years?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we got out
Yeah.
of
last one,
last zero term.
yeah.
Anybody have any questions on the mower?
Did John say 15 years?
15 years, yep. As long as he can store it in your barn.
Sure.
So zero mowers or zero turn mowers have been around for 15 years?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
I only learned about them last year.
Okay. No, we have an old, a 90-something.
96, yeah.
96 Toro that has served us well, and a lot of different people have driven that mold.
Yeah. I have an 05 Walker.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last one for this year for the highway department that we do put on here just for capital sake is the paving projects and sidewalk replacement. So I'm just going to quickly run through some of it. Basically, we have the Cedar Street Bridge going on, coming out to bid. It's going to come up in the next, I think this week, it's going to be out to bid, or the bids are received. I'm sorry.
Opening the bids.
Open the bids tomorrow. So we have, as long as that project doesn't go over what we've allotted for that, we should have approximately 255,000 of Chapter 90 money at this moment, expecting that we'll get another 360, don't know that for sure, for the new, we should have, that money could be used for paving.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
So,
Sorry, Shirley, I muted you.
so it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I'm expecting that funds could be used for paving if nothing happens with the Cedar Street Bridge again. We have a few pieces we've taken off our pavement management study. So our goal would be like Cemetery Street for 100,000. A section of South Street would be 570,000, and a section of Southwest Main for 300,000. Now, that doesn't give us enough money, obviously, with our Chapter 90, so it's depending on whether the town is going to give us funds for that or not. And also, one of the other things that we do keep into consideration is any economic development projects. If we have something like that, and if we have to save up, we don't get a lot of Chapter 90 money, so if we have something that's coming down the pipeline that we know and we should be really concerned with, that we can, we may have to steer away from this. But at this moment, those are the projects that we're aiming towards. Not all of them, we may not have enough funding, but those are the ones we're aiming towards. And from the pavement management study, they give us a pavement condition index for each street. And for the sections that we're discussing, Cemetery Street was 0. It was the worst that it can be. South Street, the section that we're talking about, was 18.6, and Southwest Main was 9.24. And Southwest Main is from the main gate to the Grand Trunk, so down towards the state forest. So that's where we're at. Again, this is without any town contribution at this time. It's just Chapter 90 money. And if we did get some from the town, then we would be able to do more. So that's our priority number 5, and that's it for this year, for FY22, our request from the Highway Department.
Thanks, Adam.
No problem, thank you.
Is that it, bud?
That's it. Any questions?
That's it.
All right.
Who do we have up that we would like to bring in next, Matt?
Well, if you look at the list, who has the most remaining, it would be the fire department and the school department.
Fire department and who?
School department.
School department. Have we got anything back from the school department yet?
Yeah, I think I posted it all to the account, to the Google file folder. There's the list here on the spreadsheet. They didn't change it.
Yeah, so
They
di-
just,
yeah,
they
all right.
put more detail
I thought
to it.
I didn't think I seen the school on that Google list, that's why I asked.
I mean, with them, it's, I take a highlighter and I go through this and I look at what could be done operationally, what should be done out of their reserves, because they're not large projects, and try to whittle their list down rather than listen to them present all of them. But that's just,
No, I think moving forward, we probably should, just as Adam did, is get what is going to be coming up immediately versus the 5-year plan. There's no reason for us to sit here and go through a 5-year plan. But if you have immediate needs for fiscal year 2022 and potentially 23, then that's what should be presented to us. Otherwise, I think it's, lack of a better description, a waste of everybody's time to go into great detail of a 5-year projection. Now, we should have a list of it, but not necessarily go through the complete presentation all 5 years.
I had a couple of answers for Ms. Mozinski, if I might.
Absolutely.
On the,
I agree with you, Mike. Things do change, so.
Matt has a few answers that he would like to share with you. Sure.
I want to go back to the generator for a second. I didn't want to interrupt Adam. Can you hear me, Shirley?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
That's good. Wherever you are, that's good.
I'm sitting on top of Mike's phone. I don't want to get too long-winded, but last year, we applied for a community compact information technology best practices grant. And town meeting had offered money for the generator. And the concern has been continuity of operations. The generator here at the building does work, but it does not have everything on it that it needs to have wired to the generator. So there's so much load on the generator now, we couldn't add the town's network, computer network, and we couldn't add the systems that cool not only our network, but the police, elements of the police department's computer network that are here in our technology room. So therefore, when we lose power, the current generator doesn't actually bring us up to operational capacity. It only helps the police department maintain bare bones. The dispatch position is powered. That's one concern, right? So there's insufficient capacity on the existing generator. Second, its age, it's very old. And the gentleman who services it has given us a sense that it's not going to last much longer. And lastly, it was not installed properly. So the transfer switch and other safeguards that should be in place to protect our appliances, when the generator kicks on, we're unprotected. And so we fry stuff every time we get power, power surges. And worst thing of all is that we don't usually lose power in a nice clean moment where a tree hits a line, knocks the whole thing out instantaneously. It bounces, it oscillates, being on, off, on, off, on, off. And so we've fried a fair amount of stuff, nothing important to this point. So we said, well, if this building is the EOC, it can't be this way. It has to all operate. So we applied for the grant and we did not get it. One of the issues with the grant application was that the project was too big. This year, we reapplied and we left the generator off, and we were successful. So everything else that we require for continuity of operations for our information technology network here is going to be fixed with grant money because we got $38,000. So that's taken care of. Can we use, you also asked if the COVID money that floats around can be used, and the answer is I don't believe it can be spent on capital items. It's for operational budget overages that result from pandemic response. But we can't buy an ambulance, we can't buy a generator, we can't buy stuff like that with CARES Act funds, okay? So that, I just want to make sure you asked those questions and there were answers. I just want to make sure you got them.
Oh, thank you. But we do need to do the generator.
It's very hard to, or it's inappropriate to run an EOC out of an operational public safety station if it's not sequestered. So we don't have space at the fire station for this. The space we would take up is space that the firefighters need to operate, maneuver, and the police department, as you know, is crowded down there. There's no place for us to go.
Yeah.
So when we have those meetings and we're trying to support their activities, it has to be fully operational. And because, as I said, there are elements of the police department's network that are upstairs here behind a locked door, the last couple of times we've lost power, they've lost parts of their network and can't turn them back on because it's not on the generator. Okay, so what they lose, primarily what they lose is parts of their internet connectivity, which nowadays is a big deal.
It is. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything else? When would everybody like to meet again? A week from today, 2 weeks from today? A week from today would probably work better for timing to get this expedited. Are you available next Wednesday at 2 p.m., Shirley?
No, I'm not. That would be the 20th?
Correct. Correct. Any other day next week work for you?
Yeah. 19th, 21st, 22nd.
Okay, anybody have a preference of Tuesday or Thursday of next week?
Thursday. No, well, yeah, Thursday, I'll be back. No.
Everybody good for the 21st, Thursday next week, 2 p.m.?
At the moment.
You're good on that? Ken always reserves his option to disappear. Okay.
So we're doing 21st at 2?
At 2 p.m. on the 21st, Kent's going to present his items, and we'll be in touch with the school to see if they'll have some information for us as well.
Okay.
You want to try the police department as well, or?
You might as well. There's not going to be a lot left. I guess, Mr. Chairman, the drone conversation is worth having.
Yeah,
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It would squeeze in. It's kind of, I hate to squeeze them in, but it would make more sense to just, because we might be able to piggyback.
You're
on-
only going to have a couple items, correct?
Well, the fingerprint machine that's on the list, they
Yeah.
were able to get some replacement parts and extend its life.
Yeah.
The sidearms, I think is on his list.
Sidearms and the drone, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the sidearms, to be honest, I really don't see that as capital. I mean, I know it's a lot of money,
Right.
but you cannot have a police
It's a
department.
reoccurring.
It's a
operational
reoccurring
expense.
operational expense.
Yeah.
That's where it belongs. So when he needs them, we're just gonna have to find a way to fund them.
Okay, so it sounds like they have a short list of things anyways, so we'll just do all three. The fire
Mine's
department,
fairly
police-
short too, so.
What's that?
Mine's short too.
Yep, so fire department, police department, and the school department.
Right.
For next Thursday at 2 p.m. on the 21st. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn if nobody else has anything else.
Mike,
Oh, all right, go ahead.
Sorry, but are we going to be getting minutes of these past couple meetings?
No, I can get some of the older minutes. We have a couple meetings there, but we are short-handed a minute taker at the moment. So once we have somebody, the job has been posted, once we have a taker, then we'll get some minutes. So I think I have about 2 meeting minutes that we could go over so they don't get too far behind and we don't end up into a
Yeah.
position we were before.
That's right. Thank you. Okay.
Is that
I
it,
move we
Shirley?
adjourn.
You good?
I'm good.
You
I
made a
move we
motion to adjourn. Can I hear a second?
second.
Shirley seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Shirley Mazinski, aye.
Oh, Ellie
Mike.
Renfro, aye.
Ken Vincent, aye.
Ben Tessino, aye.
John Farnell.
Mike Fitzpatrick, aye. We are adjourned at 3:30.